Welcome back, everybody. It's Rama from Junk Journal Divas. Hello, my friends. I am doing a very impromptu video here because I've got these little pieces of scraps from my sari bundles, and they're just so pretty and blingy. So I grabbed a few of them. There's more, look. So I've got just all these really fun scraps, and then for my paper doll thing that I was doing, I've got all these fun jelly prints. So I decided I'm gonna stop and make a couple of boho beads, paper beads with these fun scraps. So I'm gonna pick a couple and we're gonna make some. And another thing, I'm kind of in the middle of going through a whole bunch of my fabrics. I have a whole bunch of scraps and I've got them organized by color in bins, just fabric scraps I'm talking about. And I was thinking of bagging some of them up, just a little bag, and put them on Etsy, and just for really cheap, like just basically you pay for the shipping. Let me know if anybody would be interested in that. I know I would actually like that, to get somebody else's stuff to play with. But right now I just happen to have some really great scraps. So let me see, I'm gonna pick a couple papers. I like this. We will take a green, still kind of a larger piece. I will save that maybe. Green, you know, I always have to do blue. This is really pretty. This is from Karen. Love. She sent me some amazing jelly prints. No scraps are too small for a junk journaler. Am I right? This one, another green. These are really cool. I'm not really doing a good job at narrowing it down here, am I? Well, I think we do need some pink. It is a rainy Friday here. It's Friday night, and I thought, what better thing to do than just go hang out in my room. Okay, so I've made these a couple of times. If you've been following my channel for a little while, you know that I make these a lot, and I've played around with different methods to make them. So when I first started, I used to use straws. This is a paper straw. The thing about these is that when you go to put your wire through here, it moves around a lot. So you want something that the hole is going to be smaller. So what works the best is using a bamboo skewer, or just a skewer, something that's this small. And I would just kind of, you know, start and roll it. So I'm going to start with the paper first. I'm going to roll some of these up. And as far as the fabric ones, I have some just scrap pieces of paper that I rolled up, and then we'll put the fabric around these. And also, if you do happen to have some paper straws, and let me find the one that this one I cut. If you can see here, I don't know if you'll be able to see in there, but I put one of my skinny rolled up papers down inside here, and then that kind of fills it up so I can put my wire there and it's not wobbling around. So that's another idea. So let's see, let's do this guy. This is really, this might be a little too skinny. I might have to cover something with this. Let's do that. This is actually tissue paper that was glued. So I should just be able to glue this onto here. Let's do that. So when I first started in junk journals, I didn't have any supplies whatsoever, and I remember I would always tell people, anything that you're throwing away, like, I don't care, send it to me. And so I would just love to get a box of random scraps. It didn't matter what it was exciting to me. So I thought, let me see if anybody would be interested in getting a random bag of some colorful scraps to play with. Okay, and then I'm just, you know, laying it down and I'm just rolling it up, super easy here. And I'll just kind of keep rolling it just to make sure that it's closed. And you see on the end here, if you have any parts that are sticking up a little bit, I just take my glue, put a little bit along there, and then I'll just go around it with my finger, kind of smudge that glue there. So before, I used to use, you know, fabric glue and playing with fabric, trying to get it to stick, and oh my goodness, it was unbelievably messy. And this is just so much easier. And when I do the fabric ones, I use some, to get it to stick down on the end, I'll use some double-sided tape. Way easier, you guys. Learn as you go, right? Okay, I'm just gonna cut that end off. And this end is okay. All right, so we've got this, and we're gonna cover this up with some goodies anyway. We're gonna cut it into smaller pieces, wrap some stuff around it, and then I will get some wire and put some wire through it and put beads and all the fun stuff. So let's do some more. The bamboo stick that I'm using is small. I couldn't find any of the regular size ones that are about a foot long. I thought I had some in my house, but I don't. So that's why I'm cutting down my paper, because you want it to be the same size as your skewer or smaller. And once you kind of get it started wrapping around the skewer, then it just will, you know, it kind of catches and it rolls really easily. And then you just glue, and super, super simple. Now, these are going to be pretty skinny. If you have a larger piece of paper and you wrap more around, obviously that will be a fatter, you know, paper bead. But if you have a tiny piece of scraps, like I've got some very skinny pieces of scraps and I love them, I want to use them. Because if you use a larger piece, and I'm using jelly prints, you know, a lot of times I don't want to just use a big chunk of jelly print. So a really easy way to just use a sliver of your jelly print or whatever paper it is that you want is to start off by using a piece of white paper or just whatever it is that you have, scraps that you don't really care about. So you can see here I've just got the white paper, and I'm going to start rolling that up. And then I can add my glue. And now I'm going to bring a piece of the jelly print paper, and this is a tiny little sliver, but it's enough to go the whole way around my skewer. So very, very simple, and a great way to use those tiny little pieces of scraps. So here I'm doing it again. This is just plain white piece of scrap paper that I have, and I start my roll, put down the glue, and then I can bring my piece that I love, that I want to actually be the bead. And then we'll glue it up. And then next we're going to do some of the fabric ones, and then after we roll up some fabric ones, we can cut these down into smaller pieces. So moving on to the fabric ones, you guys, I've done lots of boho bead tutorials, and I'm telling you, this is so much easier than using glue and no mess. So I am just, I mean, there's a couple of different ways, but I'm putting the tape onto the straw because I find it's easier sometimes to peel off that back part of the tape. And for this piece, so I have I put a piece on my straw and stuck it down onto my fabric. And then I put another piece on the other side of the straw, peeled it off, and now I'm rolling this up. And yeah, just super simple and very easy. So for this one, I'm doing the same thing. First of all, I'm going to cut my fabric down a little bit so that it fits my straw. If it hangs over slightly, that's okay because you can tuck it inside the straw and that's actually good. But for this one, I'm doing the same thing. I put my tape directly onto the straw, then I'm going to stick it down onto my fabric and cut off a little bit of the excess that is there just so it is uniform in the shape. And then now I'm going to go to the other end and put some tape down, and that way I can roll it and it will stick at the end. This piece is heavy with the embellishment, so I am putting lots of the tape down. So I'm just doing this first and press it down really well so that it sticks and you can peel that back off easily. And then I just roll up with my straw. Now this piece has a border on it, and the border is a little bit thicker, so I don't like the way that this is laying. It's not going flat against my boho bead. So I actually decided to kind of pull that up and cut off that very edge. And I like it much better this way because it's laying flush with the bead. Otherwise you have a big bump, and maybe you like that, maybe you want that, but I didn't like it for this bead. So now it's fixed. Now another thing is for the end, the end that's going to be the last part to roll around your bead. Sometimes when you're putting your tape down, the fabric, if it's really delicate, it can get kind of wonky when you're rolling it up. So another thing that you can do is put your straw down first, and then when you put that end piece of the tape on, before you peel it off, just go and cut right at the very edge of your tape, and then that will make sure that your fabric is perfectly rolled up. So I wanted to kind of stop here and show you the ones that I've done so far. So these are the jelly print papers that I rolled up. And then, like I said, I will just, I'll cut these and put a wire through them and do some dangles. And if you've ever bought anything from my shop, I usually add something like these. I'll clip onto your package. And that's kind of what I wanted to do them for. I like having a stash of those, a pretty big stash. And then I did these. Well, this one, I found this in my scraps, and I thought this is perfect to just add to the bottom of some beads. And then I did some other ones here that, once again, I can, cut these up. I can wrap some wire around them, some of my fuzzy yarn, and then, put the wire going through it with some beads and everything. So I am going to do some more of the fabric ones because the last time I made these, I just made a bunch of the paper ones. And I happen to have all these scraps from playing with the sari scarves. So, and this stuff is perfect. It's already got the embellishments on it. So I'm gonna make some more, and then we can meet back up and we'll do the second part, adding the wire and all of that stuff. Sunday morning and it's pretty quiet in my house right now, so I thought I would jump on. And as you can see, I cut and I put these, organized them by colors because I want to make sure that I get a little of everything. And we are going to add some beads to these. Pick some beads that I want to use, and I've got my tools here. So these are round nose pliers, and you've got to have these for your loops, and then just a pair of pliers, needle nose pliers, and then I have some wire cutters. So I've got those tools. I have some wire. Now I like to use 20 gauge wire. I find that this is the perfect one to work with that can bend and still be thick enough that it holds the shape. I have some beads, and then I also have some packages of these guys, you know, the bead toppers and spacer beads. I really love this one. Let me do one of these. I have quite a few reds, an orange one. So, and if things are, you know, sticking up a little bit, that's okay. You can always go back and glue it down. But after we put our wire in and everything, we're gonna wrap some stuff around this. And there's different things that you can do. And of course, you know, let your imagination go wild. Whatever you can think of, it's boho beads. That's what they're all about. So first, I am just going to get some wire here. I do have silver, but I just grabbed these two. 20 gauge also. I think I'll use this one because this is really like a bright. When I have enough wire to work with and then also put beads on and do my loops at the end. So I'm just going to go with this much. And I don't know, this is maybe what, 10 inches maybe? I'm just going to grab the end, and because I don't have one of those little straightener guys, there is something that you can run along your wire and it straightens. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to make a loop at one of my ends, and that will, and then we can start building our bead. So I am going to take my needle nose pliers, and I'm just going to go enough for me to, I don't know, maybe an inch, let's say an inch. And I'm just going to make a bend here and pull on this. So we've got this bend. And then I am going to start maybe about, if you can see, like there. And I am going to turn this so that I'm holding it like this, and I'm going to roll the wire towards me, let go, and come around. And I'm gonna roll it again. So we're kind of like this. And then I can hold on to this, and I want to straighten my wire out here. Okay, and now I can take this short one and pull it up, keep it kind of, you know, tight here, and wrap it around. And I can take my needle nose pliers to kind of and then can just kind of squeeze it when you get to the very end here. And it's good sometimes if you just kind of make a little at the very end, if you just kind of bend it slightly, then when you squeeze it, there's nothing poking out, if that makes sense. Okay, so if you can see, we've got our loop. And I'm just going to try to straighten this a little bit more. All right, so now we've got our loop and we can start building. This one, I got to decide what beads I want. Now you don't want to put too many unless you want it to be super long, but if you've got beads on both ends, and it can end up being, you know, really long. So that is something to keep in mind. I like to use my little mini paint palette things just to hold some beads so they're not rolling all over the place. A pearl, then a spacer bead, and maybe a gold bead. So I've got some gold out here. Let me put some more out. See, I've got a lot of these guys with the rhinestones, those spacer beads. Bead topper here. So let's just grab this stuff for now. So usually at the end, I will put a seed bead, something small. Do a gold, and then I would put my bead cap on, and we want it to be kind of facing this way because we want it to go over top of my pearl. And then if I put my boho, I'm just keeping this one really nice and simple. Let me try this guy. So we would have this. And you can see what I mean about not wanting the straw to move around too much here. That's a pretty simple one. And then you can do the same thing on the other side or something a little bit different. I'm going to do the same spacer bead, pearl, bead topper. Let me see if we would do something like this. All right, so this is what we have. So then I'm going to go down, make sure these are a little, you know, tight here. So I'm going to hold this, and then I want to give myself a tiny little bit of leeway here, but I'm going to make my bend. And we've got a lot of wire here, like maybe half of it. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to grab it, I don't know, that's maybe like ½ inch. And then I'm going to roll this towards me. So we're like that. And then I can take this wire, and I'm just going to wrap it around like maybe once, and that'll be good. So I can cut this off. And then now I'm going to go to the very, very end there, the very tip, and I'm just going to kind of roll that so that it's sort of bent, this, you know, rolling around, and then I can squeeze it in. So there we go, super easy, right? So this is the next step, and after this, then you can go back in and add some beads going around it or whatever you want to add. Now, a lot of these would be fine as is because they've already got the sequins on them and are pretty embellished. So I might not add anything to some of these. Wire. Those pliers. And we're just going to do our bend. And then our round nose. I'm gonna roll it towards me, let go, roll it again until I'm like right on top of this wire. And then I can take this little one and wrap it around. And I just did twice, and then I will go ahead and make sure you cover it. You don't want wires flying up in your face. So again, I'm just going to take the very end here and kind of roll it. And then I can kind of squeeze this. And there we've got our loop. So that's what we have. I might want something decorative right here between the bead and my boho bead that I made. So I think, again, I'm going to put one of those rhinestone ones because I do have a lot of those. Okay, so let's put this back on. Yeah, I like that. I like that better. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, keeping it simple here. So here we go. And again, I am just going to take the end of this and do my bend. My wire is very long, so we're going to cut some of this off. And then I'm going to go about 1/2 inch and roll it towards me until the loop is right on top of the bead here and it's lined up. And then I can take the wire, wrap it around. And this, you guys, is where my fuzzy yarn comes in really handy, because I'm just going to grab a little piece of this one just to show. It just adds some fun stuff. You could even have it hanging off the bottom or whatever you want to do. But an easy thing to do is to just take it in the middle, you know, at one end of your boho bead. And I would tie a knot there. Okay, and then I'm going to take one of them, and it depends on how much you want to wrap it, but this one has so much stuff on, I don't feel like we have to wrap a lot. And I'm going to make these go in opposite directions, and then when they get back down to the bottom, you just tie another knot. Another thing that you can do is use wire or embroidery floss or any kind of thread and put some beads on it, and then you can do this same thing, wrapping it around. And you see what I mean? You can just leave those hang if you would want. And then I would just add a little dangle to one end, and you put your bulb pin or safety pin or something at the other ends, and you're ready to clip it on something, on a project. Super easy, right? So I just added some dangles to the end of these guys. I hope hope I inspired you to try some boho beads. And as always, thank you so much for joining me today for some creative fun.